You are watching The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman, exclusively on ABC Amber TV.
Mama yo, now your boy go get down. Blue Jay promise. Mama you kind, Mama you're beautiful, Mama you good, Mama you're wonderful. No woman like you, Mama. No woman like you, Mama. Thank God for you, Mama. Thank God for you, Mama. 'Cause you gave me life, oh Mama, queen of my life, oh Mama. I go love you for life, oh Mama. 'Cause you love me so, oh Mama. From small beginning, I never forget all the suffer when you suffer for me. Oh yeah, yeah. All the pain and the troubles where I put you through. I remember when money no be day and chop no be day for her. You be the try your best. You go run around to find us something where we go chop. When I dey sick, you know the sleep. You go dey cry all night. You go hold me tight, start to pray, say God make you help my oh Lord. Ooh, I wo ye choma. Afunga na bere ye funga choma. Ambama na bere ye ambama choma. Enga na chinum ye ga choma. Mama, I wo ye choma. Afunga na bere ye funga choma. Ambama na bere ye ambama choma. Enga na chinum ye ga choma. Ye ga choma, mama. Enga na chinum ye ga choma. Chinum ye ga choma. Oh, you gave me life, oh mama, queen of my life, oh mama. I will love you for life, oh mama. 'Cause you love me so, oh mama. You're my motivation. You gave me the best education, mama. The song where I sing, I'm for you. Now it's special dedication to you. Oh yeah. I know say every night and day you pray say make a mama. The God where you the pray I'm for heaven. Don't give me this inspiration, mama. The song where I sing, I'm for you. Now to show my appreciation to you. Ubi ya wo ye choma. Afunga na bere ye funga choma. Ambama na bere ye ambama choma. Enga na chinum ye ga choma. Mama wo ye choma. Afunga na bere ye funga choma. Ambama na bere ye ambama choma. Enga na chinum ye ga choma. Chinum ye ga choma. Chinum ye ga choma. Chinum ye ga choma. You gave me life, oh mama, queen of my life, queen of my life. I will love you for life. I will love you for life. 'Cause you love me so, oh mama. You gave me life, mama, queen of my life, mama. I will love you for life, oh mama. 'Cause you love me so, oh mama, mama. Selelele, ale mama, 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 selelele, ale mama.
Hello. Greetings, everyone. Greetings to the home front. Greetings to those in ground one. Greetings to everyone all over the diaspora. This is my Patience here today on The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman. Your host, Ma Rachel, is engaged and again cannot make it today. And we are hoping that she will join you next Friday. Today on the show, I have Lady Casey, and we have a very exciting program for you guys. Uh, as you can see on the screen, we'll be responding to enablers, Professor Anyangwe, Dr. Monzi, and uh, someone who calls himself Comrade, Comrade Anu. He's not our comrade, but that is his name. That's a joke. So I hope you are ready to stay with us. Let me tell you something about the horizon. Our motto is stay in the course. We are staying the course till we get to Boya. And we are also doing this because we are fighting for the Ambazonia we want. We are fighting for the Ambazonia that will make us the 55th nation in Africa. We are fighting for the Ambazonia where our children will have a future. We are fighting for the Ambazonia where the world will respect the youngest nation in Ambazonia. So please stay tuned. Be ready to call in when you can and enjoy the show. Uh, Lady Casey, go ahead and greet our audience and viewers.
Oh, thank you, Mape. Thanks for having me here again. And greetings to fellow Ambazonians and all Ambazonian sympathizers and all our restoration fighters at home front. Special salute to you all for your resilience and devotion to our liberation cause. Thank you all for joining us. We hope you enjoy the show. We hope you make your contributions from all the various platforms you may be watching us from. And we hope we all live with a new, renewed spirit, with inspired minds, and with a clear direction and vision of this our cause. Like Mape said, the horizon is staying the course. Staying the course no matter the distractions, no matter the blackmails, the lies, no matter the manipulation, and by French Cameroon and their enablers, and no matter that, we are staying the cause. The true patriots of Ambazonia and the true liberator fighters of the Ambazonia freedom cause are staying the cause, and the women are championing that. And that we know what when women champion things, results always come out. Thank you so much, Mape.
Absolutely. When women champion things, you get the results. They say behind every great nation, you have great women leading the nation. Um, so, Lady Casey, I will just start the program right away and talk about that infamous clip from Professor Anyangwe. Granted, we did not hear the whole video of what the conversation was before and after, but that little clip that he was talking about our ARFs. And I just want to go over bits and bits. It's probably not possible for our technical team to put it on now, but let's just go through some of the information that he talked about. In fact, what I did was I went through the video and I wrote down so a few things. So I will even read what he wrote and then we can talk about it. He says, I have been in the struggle, like Dr. Edmond said, and at a time when most people now you see them say they are frontline leaders. And so they hadn't the slightest clue what problems we were facing. So I really went down and listened to him and wrote down what he was writing, what he was saying. So he's saying that he's been in this struggle when most of the people that are here hadn't the slightest clue. So when I look at them and sometimes what they say, I just wonder. So he's saying that he's been in this struggle for so long that some people that are talking now are hadn't the slightest clue. Even that sentence is so full of it. I hate to use that expression. It's full of it.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I mean, I can actually talk from that sentence coming from an individual like Professor Carson Anyangwe. I can talk on that for 3 hours nonstop, because where do I start? Do I start from, I would say, an apology of regret? Where do I start from? Um, like evidence of failure? Where do I start from? You know, position of surrender. I mean, that says so many different, that means on all these different topics I mentioned, I can go on and on. I can elaborate on each of them. But that man is in making such a statement and trying to exert himself. Is, he's telling him that he's telling us that they failed, and because they don't want to acknowledge that they had problems and they failed to resolve problem, you know where do we start? Cousin Anyangwe has had responsibilities and position, and we know there was no result. Some of them will be analyzing it as we go on in the show. So when they come now, instead of applauding those who are doing better, achieving better results, no one is undermining anybody efforts and contributions to our liberation struggle from the 1961. We have praised, we have recognized, we always acknowledged. We mentioned some of the contributions of someone like Pagojin Dinka. We mentioned all their contribution on Pangalan for how they have navigated some of the most challenging times. And we've seen Professor Kasim Anyangwe is now putting himself in the categories of the Munzus. And that is just for me a position of surrender. If you have given up, if you no longer believe in the Ambazonia freedom, it is best to shut up sometimes and not just go distracting people and try to drag us back to history. We are moving forward. We are looking for how to restore the independence of Ambazonia and get it internationally recognized, acknowledged, and Ambazonia being respected. So this type of statement of how they have been in the struggle, they had problems, it's not bringing any solution. You're not coming to tell us that, okay, this is the problems we faced before, this was the solution we applied, this is the result we achieved, so that we learn from it. But they're bringing this kind of statements to assert themselves as they should have been the one frontline leaders because they've been in a struggle and they've had problems which clearly they failed. So for me, it's a total distraction, and it's trying to, it would only appeal to like failure mind, like minds of failures, because if anybody is driven by result and outcome, some of these 30-year-olds in the struggle and 25 years and whatever they call themselves, um their distraction will not deter you from moving forward, because what we need for them to be shared is their wealth of knowledge, achievements, how they solve problems, how they manage, for example, disunity in their time. How can we do the same now, so that there is unity, of purpose, there is focus on the Ambazonia outcome. So those are the type of things we want to hear from. They're not coming to tell us that they laugh at frontline, those who call themselves frontline leaders. What do they want to be? Do he want to be a frontline leader? When he was, what did he do? What did he achieve? So they just, like I said, there's so much to unpack from there. I can go on and on and
Yeah,
on. Thank
I,
you.
I know you can go on and on, but let me continue reading what he said so that we can even dig more into it. So he said, right now, we have got to a stage that we have to speak truth and stand up for certain things so that the struggle does not die. Our freedom fighters feel encouraged so that our freedom fighters go on. So what I really did was I listened to him and I wrote this down. So it may not come out as clearly as it's supposed to be, but I'm just reading what he said, and then we'll talk about it. So that our freedom fighters feel encouraged, so that our freedom fighters on the ground know that there are people backing them up. We should not sit down in the diaspora and expect them to do miracles. Definitely, we will play that role. I speak for myself and for Maggie, and she will speak too. The role, the War Relief Fund is very important. We need also to urge our people to mount a campaign that the armed struggle on the ground is depoliticized. I have never seen any armed struggle in the whole world the that the armed that the armed struggle is politicized. And this is what we do on a daily basis. And we sit back and expect result. Henceforth, I will be the first to denounce any conduct to politicize our fights. Okay, Ladies Casey, this is a lot of information right here. So they had this meeting where they were trying to raise funds for their war fund, war relief fund.
Yeah.
And this conversation is up from that meeting. And I guess one of their leaders there is Ya Magikilo, whom he referred to. And so the thrust of the message is to depoliticize the armed struggle. And let me read forward, because what I want to read forward connects to what we have to discuss further. Henceforth, I will be the first to denounce any conduct to politicize our struggle. Let our armed freedom fighters concentrate on what they are doing and stop politicizing them. Stop claiming them. Stop treating them as if they are slaves or houseboys or have to answer you, yes, yes, Your Excellency, yes, President, yes, this, yes, that. Whatever stupid nonsense. And I want the freedom fighters to hear me very well. You owe nothing to these two. Okay, so Professor Anyangwe is telling us to depoliticize the struggle. Lady Casey, let's go back a little bit to where Professor Anyangwe was in this struggle. Professor Anyangwe was with the interim government. Remember that this struggle started from the consortium, it moved to the SCACUF, then to the governing council, then to the interim government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. He was there when Seseko Ayutabe was president. He was there when President Seseko Ayutabe declared October 1st, our nation restored. So I don't know if that is politics, but we've already gone that route to where we are the interim government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. In fact, let me even go a little bit back. When former President Ayutabe was the president, he came to Los Angeles on September 22nd, 2018. He came here after the rally they had in New York. And one of the questions asked of him, and I was one who asked this question because I remember vividly, was, why are there so many fractions? Why are people like Ayaba and Bo Herbert and Akwanga not part of the team? He said, well, they've been invited. They're supposed to be part of the team. You can only do so much. If you want them there and they don't want to be there, what can you do? So that's way there. They already didn't want to be part of this government because they wanted their own leadership for themselves. They didn't want to support former President Seseko at that time. Now, fast forward to when he was abducted and President Sako took over. Professor Anyangwe was supposed to be an advisor to the president. He was in that team. He was part of the government. Why wasn't he there talking about politicization at that time? Because there were no people on the ground. We didn't have our voices on the ground. President Sarkozy came up with the idea of self-defense, right? That was President Sarkozy's vision and power. He brought that on in the struggle. He empowered our people to be able to defend themselves. We had this LGA, defending your county, LGA by LGA. Professor Anyangwe was there as an advisor to the president. Before ASSC 1, President Sako came up with ACON. I don't really remember the meaning, the acronyms, but I know that it was a collaborative platform where Professor Anyangwe was supposed to head to bring about collaboration, to bring about all these leaders coming together. He failed
Yeah,
because if he had succeeded, then this talk about politicization will not be coming up because we will all be under one umbrella, under the interim government, fighting to bring this thing to an end. He failed there. Now, President Sako has succeeded to get our boys being able to defend their territory. We have LGAs, we have our ARFs, and then they suddenly come up with a war relief fund, right? Well, they are the ones politicized. That's the irony. They are the ones bringing the politics.
absolutely. I was
And
just screaming in my mind. The hypocrisy is
let me have
outrageous.
you talk. Go ahead, my dear. Go ahead.
I was just shouting that the hypocrisy is outrageous. Like I was saying, that this is just somebody expressing their regrets because they believe that their positioning would have given them the opportunity. You know, the the sad thing within this struggle is that you see people who that have been doing something, supporting something, because it is no longer giving them the spotlight or the glory that they seek, and they turn against it and turn it into something bad. Or they start telling you is not politicizing. Who has done politics in this revolution or from the beginning more than Person Anyangwe? Ha! He has been like you clearly said. You've really give a brief timeline of his participation to the court up to the to bring this revolution to the current state that it is, and everyone respect him and appreciate him for that. But for him to want to raise funds, and that's the problem I have with some Ambazonians or some. If you want to raise funds, say you are raising funds for Ambazonia, do what you must do for Ambazonia. You don't must damn another thing that somebody else is doing for you to justify what you are doing. That just shows how shallow, weak, malicious, and diabolic that you can be, because there's no need for you to go and do your whatever fund and come think it's an opportunity to disregard, because most of their plans, and we can start from wherever, has always been to delegitimize the interim government, to undermine the activities, efforts, and success of the interim government headed by President Samuel Sako Ikome. There is no activity all of them are trying to do for Ambazonia. Everything, every other group, from my observation, that they are trying to do is to ensure that the successes and the legitimacy of the interim government is destroyed. And that's for me, any Ambazonia who choose to join that, then that the consequences will be on them, because Ambazonia liberation is can only make progress. We have seen severally this well fund is a similar thing to what Wiba, Skaku, what's the other thing, Scoop, all of them are trying to do, trying to cut under the structure, trying to destroy the structure of the interim government and call it politicizing. Like they are the ones politicizing. The interim government is minding its business, going doing what they can possibly do to raise funds. They've created a draft. There is no day interim government wanted to go and create the draft, for example, and that will bring continuous money, continuous flow of money into the revolution. There's no the interim government want to create a draft and say that, oh no, they will not, they will have to create a draft because this they are trying, Amazonia should draft because another group is doing this or because another individual no, they went on with their activity. So when these people behave like this, it just shows who they are. It just shows the caliber of persons that they are. You don't need to destroy the interim government to do something great or big for Amazonia. You don't need to try to cut under the structures of the interim government to portray yourselves. All of you, the Anyang, we have failed greatly, and they know how he want to package it and talk about, because that's the excuse they use. Oh, we are politicizing, so that when they talk to the main man, to the man on the street, the layman will think, oh yeah, I don't have to listen to them. Who should they listen to you? What would that difference, what would the difference be? Is it not just changing who they listens to? So when they bring up this level of hypocrisy and manipulation, and and shoving on top of our people. It's just sheer wickedness, because if anybody have better understanding of the structures of the Amazonia, it should be Daniel Way, because he was there from inceptions. He was there. At some point he was one of the Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs of in the interim government. At some point, was Secretary. What
Absolutely.
did he do diplomatically? He had zero diplomatic success. All his big English and big grammar, he was talking about Ambazonia history. We've passed that stage. We are now. I mean, now we are at the level where every Ambazonia should be aiming to achieve an AK in their house. Everybody, at least every family should have an AK. That's where we are. We're not here to now start babysitting egos from history. No, those times have passed. Thank you.
Yes, you're absolutely right. He was Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs when Sissoko was around. Let me move on. So he continues to say this. Let these so-called leaders go to ground zero instead of sitting out here manipulating our fighters, politicizing our fighters, encouraging our fighters to kill each other, which for me is high treason for that to happen. And they carry their faces shamelessly around as leaders. Who are they leading? Dead corpses? No, it should not happen. It should not happen. Depolitization of our struggle is what all good Amazonians must stand for. And I stand for that. And I come to tell our freedom fighters not to pay any allegiance or hear manipulations coming from the diaspora, because some people sit there and send you one AK and expect you to say, yes, Mr. President, yes, Your Excellency. No, I say from today that comes to an end. Not that I am the president, but I'm saying as someone who has a track record of this struggle, a track record of not less than 40 years. If people don't know, I have seen all kinds of things and all kinds of characters, political and military. So this must end. And I am saying this on this forum because many are listening. If we want to go forward, these are the minimum requirements to move forward. As from today, I want to hear from our armed freedom fighters on ground zero to detach themselves from political manipulations from the people in the diaspora, because they give them one penny, one bullet, and they should call them Your Excellency, Your President. You must pay allegiance. You must not pay allegiance to them. I say that comes to an end now. So the reason I wrote what he wrote down instead of playing the video was to just make us go through his words. It's easier that way to pick out what he said. Okay. He is saying that we are asking our fighters to kill one another. This thing about fighting, killing people, one another, came from this concept of unity fighters. And they were part of this plan to bring the fighters together as unity fighters. They instigated this killing on the ground where one fighter is killing another. It was all from them. And he's claiming that he's not speaking as a president. He's speaking as who then? Who is he speaking as? I mean, it's easier to have the interim government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia led with the president at the head. But then, is he speaking as the leader of the Southern Commons Forum, where he and Yamagi Kilo and Fontem Neba are part of? So who are they representing? This is just so all wishy-washy, because it's easier to be under a structure. These fighters all came about because they are part of the LGAs. They are fighting within a certain region, and they are supported by those of us in the diaspora that are raising funds? Is he telling them to stop believing in what they've believed in all along because there's a leadership, there's an interim government, and they should call him? They are calling Professor Anyangwe as who? That's what he's saying. You guys call me as who? As the person that will be giving them the next AK? And then who is he representing? Who are his followers? This is just so full of crap because he's the one causing the division. He's the one causing disunity amongst us. He's the one causing the politicization. And he doesn't see that. The fact that he's been in this struggle for 40 years plus, which he clearly made, and we respect him for that. I have to say that those who have been, you know, there are certain things that people lay the foundation. You do things that set give the other child a room to build on what you've done. And we should respect that. You already mentioned Gojindika, Pa Fongalafo, Pa Ndangam, and many more. They've done things in the past that we are called the never again generation. We are building on that. So yes, we may not know what you've done, but that doesn't mean that we cannot do better, right? The fact that you did X, Y, it doesn't mean that somebody out there cannot do better than what you did. They will build from what you did and do something better. And you should appreciate that. You should applaud that. It's just like a father, a parent. Most parents want their kids to do better than them. They send them to school. They want them to excel. So that's what you should be doing, Professor Anyangwe, and not come back and tell them to be calling you. You should support these people that you call them, because let's be frank, you are referring to President Sako. You will not call the name, but that's the person you're talking about. But President Sako is not calling these boys to tell them to call me Your Excellency, Mr. President. They just call him that out of respect, out of respect. And these our ARFs are being supported by their local governments and by their counties, and they have that relationship going, because that's the source for them to be able to continue to do what they are doing. We need each other. It's not for you, Professor Anyangwe, to come now when there's been so much gains, and then you want to come and insert yourself. Where were you all along? Where were you before? At one time, you never even believed in self-defense, right? You were only more for diplomacy. Now that you've seen self-defense has advanced, and there's a lot more to do, you come to insert yourself and then use this word politicization to create enmity amongst our fighters, to let them doubt the hand that has been feeding them, let them bite. Let me say something. I will just borrow from something in the Bible. It reminds me of the story of the women that went to King Solomon. The woman that had this child, and the other woman said, "I know it's my child." And King Solomon, to solve the problem, had to divide the child. So Professor Anyangwe is that woman that will want that child to be divided, instead of seeing the beauty of the child to grow. Because right now, President Sako is doing a great job. He has the backing of the people. Yet you come to try to destroy the people on the ground that support the president, to make them doubt the president and have them call you, rather, instead of depending on their LGAs and their counties and the president that is leading them. That is vicious. That's why you're called an enabler, because you're making the La Republique's job easy for them. That's why we call you an enabler. Lady Casey, over to you.
Yes, I mean, Mape, you have literally simplified this whole thing. The I'll just take it from that point. What they actually do is the enemy's job. Because what is the enemy greatest achievement? To destroy the interim government. The only reason why we still even talk about ARFs, we talk about the Ambazonia liberation struggle on an international platform, and even the reason why some of these leaders are still running around is because of the existence of the interim government. La Republique cannot just, be as barbaric as they would be if there was not interim government structure. And also there's something that I'll say, Cousin Anyangwe has always been against self-defense, against armed struggle. And for him to come now is just to tell him that there is room to grow. You can evolve, but you cannot evolve and want to come and destroy what has been fueling the um part of our liberation struggle. Because this type of I'll say evil and witchcraft, because it's sheer manipulation, is to manipulate our restoration fighter, expose them to more danger. Because I don't know if anybody has consistently follow the activities on ground. Most of the restoration fighters who left their LGA and county, they are no longer focused. They either become kidnappers, they leave the country, or something happens to them. So if all these restoration fighters that are under their LGA and counties are more effective and efficient in their targets and goals that they need to achieve. So and we can I can start listing all of those people, individuals, home front and diaspora, that have left the interim government structure, and what exactly is their continuous input into the Ambazonia liberation struggle. It's not the same. So when someone of that claiming to be 40 years in the struggle, and they have seen many characters and they have seen this and seen that, are not showing us any example of the better character they're supposed to have learned over the years, are not doing anything better. Like I mentioned earlier, all they are just trying to do is destroy the interim government, and that's the job of La Republique. That's the aim of La Republique. That's the goal of La Republique. And no individual will tell me that their only way to make progress in this struggle is to destroy the interim government or talk against the structures and activity of the interim government. If you are not motivated by La Republic agenda, there's no way anybody will tell me, because there is so much. If I want to form a group on ground, let's say a group of fighters, I'm not going to be bothered about what the interim government is doing. I know exactly what to do. I know how to get the boys, get the materials, and get the targets that I want to get. The interim government will not stop me to do that. So I've not seen Kasangwe say the fighters should call him now as who, like you said.
Exactly.
He's not come out and told us that this is a group of restoration fighters, of Amazonian fighters that I have armed, equipped, and this is a group that they should fight for Amazonia and not be politicized. You should come and tell us that. You cannot just come and make noise in the air and talk about what have you done or not done. Who have you equipped? Who have you prepared for the battle at home front? Tell us stories, like give us examples. Show us how you did it. Tell Ambazonians how you have equipped and fighters on the home front, because all this type of statement that, oh, they should not listen to anybody, they should not call anyone their president, they should not do that. When Siseko was there, you were calling your president, you never made such nonsense statements. Now that it is, you want your fund, you want to do your fundraising, and you think that's the only way to get people to reason with you, because in your mind they no longer in support of President Sako anymore. Now you guys can always come up and start talking trash like that. You guys are talking those things to people who don't know what's up in this struggle. So let Amazonia focus. This type of nonsense distraction from most people who claim they're supposed to be our fathers of this revolution is embarrassing, is becoming disgraceful. We should just need to focus. And like I always say, nobody, this not the interim government structure of from the restoration fighters within their LGA and county, all these different layers of the interim government, is not stopping any Ambazonian from liberating Ambazonia. If you don't want to be part of it, carry on. The coup plotters have left. What have they done? We are also waiting to see. Because me, I was very excited. I thought it's gonna make the work easier, but yet they haven't done anything extraordinary. We've not seen what they have done for Ambazonia. Nothing diplomacy, nothing on whole front, nothing fundraising, nowhere. Or part of every resource we need in this revolution from top to bottom, we have not seen whatever they have done. So if any Ambazonia is now using the interim government as an excuse for their failures, then that's just becoming really unnecessary and really cheap talk. at this point in time. Come and tell us if I want to talk about not politicizing restaurant. If I want to do that, I know what to do. I would come up with a group maybe of 200, 300 fighters well equipped, ready for the battle. I said, Ambazonia, this is not politically this and that group. When they're ready, then we can talk. There's nothing else anybody's talking again in this diaspora about against the interim government that makes any more sense. If you are not equipping the fighters on the ground and doing it better than the interim government, then you have nothing to say. So me, I'm no longer interested in all of those. Thank you.
You're absolutely right, Lady Casey. You're talking like that, and you make a very valid point because who is the enemy? The enemy is La République du Cameroon. So get your your war fund that you're building up. I don't know how much money that they came up with. I don't know, and go ahead and get your fighters. Let them fight La République. Leave the interim government alone to continue to do what they are doing.
Absolutely.
That's simple because there's one enemy. If you're really for the freedom of Ambazonia, but there's one thing that we keep on forgetting to put behind our mind, that we've already restored our nation. We're just fighting for international recognition, right? The president that you liked as the president, Ayuk Tabe, restored our independence, and I'm sure you were an advisor to him at that time also. So that has already been done. So right now we're just fighting for international recognition so that La République leaves our land and we're able to handle the affairs of nation building, which will do beautifully. We have the resources, we have the human potential all over the world. There's no field, there's no department, there's nothing that Ambazonians are not good at or are not experts in. And when the right time comes, all these Ambazonians will come home and fix home. So take home message to those who are listening to Professor Anyangwe is that he is the one causing the politicization of our struggle. It's not President Sako. We are focused on the interim government. It has a structure, LGAs, counties. It has departments of the different departments. It has an interim house, and we are doing our work in that structure. So either you join it and work with us, or you stay out, but don't condemn us. Don't cause unnecessary problem for our ARFs. So with that, we're going to slowly move to a different topic. The other was that infamous audio by the other enabler, Dr. Munzu. And I just want to focus on the part about genocide. I want to focus on the part about genocide. Unfortunately, I didn't have it said that I can play what he said, or maybe I can do. Lady Casey, while I try to pull that up, if you have anything to say as we conclude this part about Professor Anyangwe, you can say that while I go ahead and see if I can get that audio part and you guys can listen to it, if you don't mind.
I always say the struggle is broad. The activities to involve in this revolution is so many. Nobody should be using excuses of expressing their regrets or projecting their regrets of their failures on others, because that's basically what it's doing. And if he has a point to think that there need some reforms at home front, or how the restoration fighters operate and function, then he should be putting proposals of how that should be done, or he should be creating a task force and showing us an example. So if you are not physically or tangibly making contributions to, say, the home front, then you cannot stand and just make sweeping statements to confuse people who are moved by emotions, people who don't reason or think out what you have said. So we have passed that level, we have passed that stage. So let us work with our thoughts. Let us be reasoning with our whole minds and our whole body, because I believe there are so many things that I see Ambazonians give attention to, that if you are for the liberation of Ambazonia, you will not get your attention. that type of things will not even distract you one moment, because you would look at the whole liberation struggle like this point that I am. There is no level of disunity. There is no level of blackmailing, jealousy, and wickedness or witchcraft that will distract me from the goal. And the goal is total restoration and liberation of Ambazonia. There is absolutely nothing. So I cannot come and sit here and say that, the way my patient spoke to me in that meeting, I am angry, I'm now leaving. Or the way, hey, this person gossip my name. And when I tell you something, some of the things I hear, some excuses some people do just not to participate, that because you were not fully there. There is nothing and there is no one that is capable of distract me from the cause. And that is the mindset of any true Ambazonian liberator. There is nothing anyone can do that will make you not to contribute to the Amazonian freedom. There is nothing anyone can do that will distract you from the focus for the priorities of this struggle, because we have come too far. I always say that we have passed that stage, we've passed that level, and that's the level where people make sweeping statements, distract us from what we are focusing on. Now, the focus of the interim government and the structures of the interim government is to achieve two main goals: international recognition and solid defense mechanism at home front. That's the two main focus. If you are not participating, if you are not participating in what the interim government is doing, then you do better. Show us what you can do better. We're no longer talking. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lady Casey. My phone is not cooperating, so I could not pull up the audio, the section that he was
Okay.
speaking about genocide. But let's do this.
You
To
can just paraphrase.
Yes, I'll paraphrase exactly. Basically, Dr. Monsu was telling Ambazonians, was telling the world that there's no genocide in Southern Cameroons, that there's no genocide in Ambazonia. And he did this based on a few things that he said. One of the ones that really struck out to me was this, that our people have fled our land and are residing in La Republique territory. That how can you leave your land and go reside in La Republique territory if they are planning to kill you? Let's start from the beginning. What is genocide? What is the definition of genocide? If you go to the dictionary and see the word genocide, genocide means the deliberate killing of a large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying that nation or group. A campaign of genocide. Massacre. Those are other words that are used. Massacre, mass murder, annihilation, extermination, elimination, eradication, butchery, bloodbath, ethnic cleansing, and a few others. So, according to Dr. Monzi, that has not happened, or that is not happening in Ambazonia, Southern Cameroons. Now, this popular Dr. H. Stanton, the president of Genocide Watch, gave some 10 classifications of what genocide is, what have to happen for you to consider something as genocide. So, say genocide is a process that develops in 10 stages, rather, that are predictable but not inexorable. At each stage, preventive measures can stop it. The process is not linear. Stages may occur simultaneously. Logically, later stages may be preceded by earlier stages, but all stages continue to operate through the process. So the first stage is classification. All cultures have categories to distinguish people into us and them. So the classification now is the northwest, southwest. That's the classification, northwest, southwest. Using their own language, we will use the word Southern Cameroonians or Ambazonians. So that is the first classification right there. Symbolization, number 2. We give names or other symbols to the classification. We call people Jews, gypsies. That's an example they were using about the Jews. Classification and symbolization are universally human, and do not necessarily result in genocide unless they lead to dehumanization. When combined with hatred, symbols may be forced upon unwilling members of pariah groups. If widely supported, however, denial of symbolization can be powerful, as it was in Bulgaria, where the government refused to supply enough yellow badges and at least 80% of Jews did not wear them. So symbolization. So those of us that are from Northwest, Southwest, they use the word Anglophones or Anglophiles, as also a symbol of who we are. And then also, discrimination. A dominant group issues laws, customs, political power to deny the rights of other groups. This one is very evident. We Anglophones, if you want to use the word Anglophones, people from Southwest, Northwest, we've been discriminated against for ages since these people took over. You are working, you don't get salary, you have to go to Yaoundé to get your salary. Or discrimination, you write an exam, you cannot get into those best colleges or best institutions where you qualify, but somebody else who comes from that area, Francophone or French Cameroonian, will get into those institutions. There are so many examples of discrimination. Then the fourth, dehumanization. So I'm getting to all these stages because they're all happening. So dehumanization, we know the popular one. They give one group denies the humanity of the other group. Members of it are equated with animals. So we even call dogs and cockroaches and roaches. That's dehumanization. So they can easily kill you because you're not a human being. Organization. Genocide is always organized, usually by the state, often using militias to provide deniable state responsibility. So since 2016, before 2016, there was no genocide in our land, right? There was no reason for genocide. In 2017, after the teachers have gone on a strike, and then in 2017, when Bia came from that meeting that he had at the airport in Yaoundé there, he decided to tell the world that this group of people will be squashed, right? So that was the motive right there. This group of people will be squashed. And so there was plan on how to do it. They had to organize how to go about it. Polarization. Extremists drive the groups apart. Hate groups broadcast polarizing propaganda. Laws may forbid intermarriage and social interaction. Terrorism targets moderates, intimidating and silencing the center. Moderates from the perpetrator's own group are most able to stop genocide, so are first to be arrested and killed. Leaders in targeted groups are next to be arrested. So this is what is also happening, polarization. So at one point, after Phantom Neba and Bala were arrested, they were let go because they were not really pushing for independence. When Sissoko Aiktabe came up and then announced that we've reclaimed our nation, what was the next step? They were arrested to start causing polarization. They were arrested because La Republique had the goal to manipulate them, compromise them, so that they will not longer continue with what they were fighting for. And that's what they've been doing. That's why they've been kept there for a long time. That's why from that, Sissoko Ayuktabe have caused the division in us by creating another government, all the influence of La République du Cameroun. So they cause this polarization. And then preparation, and then persecution, and then extermination, and then denial. So quickly, they started sending, remember that they started sending their forces. Let's think back about all those pictures that we had of military killing our boys, the one of the putting their foot on that guy's neck, starting with Sam Sawyer killing, beheading, Mami Api burning homes, scorched earth policy, because when they burn, they kill massively. Let's not forget about all the massacres that have happened: Pinyin, Kumba, um, um, Ekondo Titi, Guzan, and Bamenda, Mankon, all those massacres that have been meant to kill many people at the same time. That's all genocide. And the goal is to really wipe out a mass group of people. And the irony is that this is not happening in French Cameroon, right? If it were happening in French Cameroon, then you will say that, oh, La République is going after the enemies of the state, because remember that there was an election and this guy won. Remind me who it is. This
Kamto.
I just Kamto won. I've not seen La Republic going to kill Kamto's people who are standing for Kamto and all the like, because that would mean that they are just attacking anybody who opposes the government. But they have been on Ambazonia from the get-go, killing us and targeting our young sons. Remember, there was a goal that they wanted to kill every 12-year-old boy, because the goal is that when they kill all these young men, then the chances of us having our sons that will be there to continue our genes, to marry our daughters and have our children, great grandchildren, for this our culture to continue, will be diminished. That is all part of this goal of them to extinguish our cultures, to kill us. So this is not happening in French Cameroon. So that is the key difference here that Munzu fails to see. I can go on and go on, and now they are denying it, and one of us is the one that is denying. That's the irony. Somebody who is learned is saying that there's no genocide. These 10 stages that Professor Stanton outlined clearly shows that there's genocide in southern Cameroons. Lady Casey, over to you.
Thank you. Yes, and it's very strange that we have to, at this point, explain the killings of Ambazonians, of Southern Cameroonians up to this day. And as we speak, the killings have not stopped. The burning down of villages and houses have not stopped. The rate might have reduced, but it hasn't stopped. And there's something Kemiashu posted. She said, La Republic have been defeated already, but the people that is still giving them hope of keeping hold of colonizing Amazonians are Anglophones, are those Anglophones. And this a perfect example is somebody like Munzo. And it's a pity that somebody who has been given a simple opportunity can distort his ability. I always say that you see people like Munzu, people like Anyangwe that can retract on their own words and principles, people that any day they wake up, the sun is shining on another man's roof and they think it's an attack on them, on their personality or their contribution. All these type of people are the reasons why Africa will never be anywhere in the world. We never have any kind of power to exert themselves or exert their values and culture in the world. It is this kind of people that have zero integrity on principles that they believe or stand on, that they can just wake up tomorrow. Today they'll say one thing and tomorrow they are totally they are totally expressing or accepting another thing because it's convenient for that hour. So the genocide in Ambazonia cannot be overemphasized. I always say every Southern Cameroonian, every Ambazonian, whether you are within, whether you are internally displaced or you are a refugee in La Republic or any parts of the Africa in particular, always be conscious of that reality. It is not going away with us. There's no Ambazonian, there's no Southern Cameroonian who does not know the history, the who does not know or who have not experienced some level of discrimination. And if you know that they favor you, it's just like how the white man relates with the black man in the West. The opportunities they give you is for their own purpose. It is not, it's either to clean their name, to make them look diverse, to make them look accepted, but it has nothing to do with you as a person. And for all of those anglophones within the La Republique and thinking they have arrived, you are only being used. They should check how many anglophones have worked with their government and ended up in jail. When they are done with you, either they kill you mysteriously or you end up in jail. You're accused of one thing or the other, and you end up in jail. So for him to think that his own survivor tactics or technique now, or wanted to preach his federalism, is to try to downplay or whitewash the sufferings, the pain that have been exerted on Amazonia, then he is he is totally wrong and dishonest and in fact evil. Um, in this case. So let Ambazonians focus on their goal. Let Southern Cameroonians be very conscious of their reality, because you cannot be oblivion about our state as Southern Cameroonians still tied to La Republic at this point in time. Excuse me. You cannot allow people like Munzu deceive you of your own reality. You know the realities, you know what you experience. Tell me any Southern Cameroonian, any Ambazonia who has started a business and it has thrived to an extent in within that confines of La Republique administration, that you have not faced some kind of challenge. I saw a post on Facebook, and I'm not sure who posted it thing, but he said that as an anglophone in this country, so they are still seeing themselves as part of La Republique. He said as an anglophone in this country, you need to hustle as twice as hard to be successful, or as four times as hard to be successful. And somebody added it, especially if you are from the northern zone. So this is a reality of the people. So if Monzo is coming to now make it, people know who have died, people know how have lost. The list is endless. The pictures, the videos, the experiences, we know it. So Amazonians, don't be deceived, because we know that Monzo is saying this just to clean the image of La Republic for his family's benefits. But we cannot be distracted or sidetracked by this, because as far as our realities on day to day as a Southern Cameroonian within La Republic administrative powers, we know we are nothing. We are we are nothing to them, and that's why they can burn a whole village. They can roast, they can fry a baby. That image traumatized me every single time. When I see a little baby girl, I think of baby Mata. Every single
Yeah.
time, it is traumatizing. It is not easy to live and still see living with La Republic. I don't even know how any Ambazonian or any Southern Cameroonian with such experience still feel there is hope to stay. Like it's beyond my comprehension. It's like you people just enjoy suffering and pain or living. No, not for me. And that's why I've decided to stand for Ambazonia, stand for dignity and respect for our people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lady Casey. I got some more information here that I want to read. But before I do that, the argument that Dr. Munzu made about our people living in La Republic, that if there was really genocide, they will not be moving there, is so such a silly argument, because our people are intermingled with French citizens. It will be difficult for La Republique to
Absolutely.
cause any genocide on them, because they're all mixed with Francophones. You don't want to hurt your people, so you cannot hurt our people. Let's say they had moved to an area where it was only Southern Cameroonians. Of course, they will be targeted. So that's what he fails to understand. And while they are there immediately, some of them are even disappearing one by one, that their parents
Yep.
and the relatives do not know where they are. You know, you don't hear that about French Cameroonian citizens disappearing. So he fails to understand. But let me read this and then go to another. The word genocide was first coined by Polish lawyer Raphael Lemkin in 1944 in his book Axis Rule in Occupied Europe. It consists of the Greek prefix genos, meaning race or tribe, and the Latin suffix "cide," meaning killing. Lemkin developed the term partly in response to the Nazi policies of systematically murder of Jewish people during the Holocaust, but also in response uh, to previous instances in history of targeted actions aimed at the destruction of particular groups of people. Later on, Raphael Lemkin led a campaign to have genocide recognized and codified as an international crime. So let me go now to the definition as in the United Nations Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, Article 2. In this present convention, genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group as such, killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part,
Mhm.
imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, forcibly transforming children of the group to another group. These are all what Ambazonians are experiencing. And
Yeah.
I don't know whether Munzu knows that. So we will end this subject because we just have a short time to talk about the last subject and then we'll end the show. We just want to tell our people on the ground, people in the home front, that some of them have fled and are refugees in neighboring countries because they were fleeing from genocide. Some of them have lost whole family members. You don't hear that happening in neighboring La Republic. It is genocide. Some villages do not exist at all that were there before. It is genocide. Some of our young children have been uprooted from their land and taken somewhere else. It is genocide. Of course, if you go to Ambazonia Genocide Library, you will see examples of horrendous things that La Republic has done on our people. And for that reason alone, we're going to move to the next topic, talking about referendum. Why referendum? It's a no. And why should we even think about referendum, for Christ's sake, when we've already restored our nation? October 1st, 2018, we restored the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. So why are we even thinking about referendum? Who are the people even using that word referendum? They are not Ambazonians. That word is coming for people that are not Ambazonians. They are La Republique agents or La Republique or Federalists. Those are the people using the word referendum because they are not us. Why will a Southern Cameroonian even use the word referendum? You're already a Southern Cameroonian. You're already an Ambazonian. Why would you use that word? So, Lady Casey, if you want to conclude on genocide, then we'll just move to this topic of referendum.
Well, you've already round up nicely about the topic of genocide, and all Ambazonians, Southern Cameroonians, home and abroad, are fully aware of the circumstances and the experiences of the people. Everybody have a family member, a village, or somebody connected I mean, there's almost, I don't think there is any Southern Cameroonians who haven't been affected by the genocides by done by La Republique on our people and our land by now. And I'll just quickly move into the referendum idea. Like you said, referendum is not something we'll be talking for, but let's even say we want the referendum. Me and you know, I don't know about you, but when I was growing up in Ambazonia as a little girl, um, there were rarely bilingual schools in our territory. As I will speak now, almost every village, I'm not even saying town, have at least one bilingual school. So that, what does that tell you? That the population of French Cameroonian in our territory has increased so much that they require an educational system that will suit them. So even if they are going for referendum, most Amazonians have been killed, they have been chased out of their land, we have our restoration fighters. So most of the people still there are not people of Ambazonian descent or Ambazonian origin or of pure Ambazonian blood. It is hardly the case. So on now looking at that already, it's already showing that that is not going to be fair. If we were even going to consider referendum as an option to gain our independence, that's one of it. Unless La Republic will allow every Ambazonian home and abroad, we know there are more than 250,000 Amazonian in Nigeria at the current moment as refugees. And currently, there are only 60,000 registered. But there are more than 250. That's only in Nigeria. No, I'm not counting those in Chad, in what's it, other countries? Congo, Congo is this central other part of Congo, and then the ones in Ghana and other African countries, not the ones that have come up in Europe. There are so many Amazonians that have left as a result of this genocide by La Republic on our people. Now, if La Republic or anybody talking about referendum or accepting referendum, that is also part of the expression of surrender. When somebody's giving up on their fight, when somebody's giving up on their hope, when somebody doesn't is surrendering, and that is the attitude of surrender. So anyone talking about referendum at this point in time, and anybody who claims they're Ambazonian or Southern Cameroonian talking about referendum at this point in time, is for me they are surrendering from fighting for their restoration and independence. And also, finally, one thing I'll say about this is that if La Republic is now who La Republic who left the Swiss mediation, the internationally recognized and backed mediation to mediate to talk about our separation peacefully and amicably. If they withdrew from that and start talking about referendum, know that they have total control of what the outcome will be. Know that they have guarantee and control what the outcome will be, and that is definitely not in the favor of Ambazonia, not in the favor of Southern Cameroonians.
Absolutely.
Definitely not. And beside that, why would they be talking about referendum with La Republic at this point in time? I mean, there's so much La Republic have promised that they did not do. Remember all the fake referendums we've had. The referendum to change from federal state to unitary states, we don't know how that happened. And
Yeah.
that's what some Ambazonians or Southern Cameroonians, in this case, largely Anglophones, don't understand. La Republic is not going to propose a solution to a seemingly problem to them, which they have refused to accept for many years until we stood up to defend ourselves. If they don't have control of the outcome that they want, if they don't have control of the outcome that they want, if they don't want to do a window dressing, if they don't have their international partners they want to please by having certain words, putting certain in global posture, which a lot of Anglophones are helping them to look better internationally at this point in time, then they will not be proposing any stuff, any idea like that. So for me, referendum is a total distraction, and we should focus on defending our territory and let every Ambazonian live with that consciousness. Thank you.
Yes, yeah. Thank you so much, Lady Casey. Just to just highlight something, in case somebody really wants to know the meaning of referendum, A referendum is a general vote by the electorate on a single political question which has been referred to them for direct decision. So it's a vote, it's a popular vote. It could be a ballot, a poll. Those are other words: ballot, poll, plebiscite. And so another question is, um, what is the purpose of a referendum? The term referendum typically refers to any election in which the people vote to approve or reject a specific proposal. So, with that said, I want to read something that uh, this person wrote, Chris W.J. Roberts. I think this was already discussed once on by our Secretary of State for Communication and Director Paddy once. But I just want to read this section, and I think it's all entangled because these people are based in Canada. This guy, Mr. Chris Roberts, works for Canadian Global Affairs Institute, and I think he's integrally involved in this business that we're talking about today, giving ideas to our people. This meeting that is happening in Canada, I'm sure he's also part of the part. I'm sure he's also in the team. He wrote this on October 22nd of this year, October 2022. I don't know the exact date, but October 22. And some people have already seen this document and read it, but I just want to read this section that has to do with the ways to pathways to peace in Cameroon, 10 critical observations for the international community. Now, this one stands out and has to do with this topic of referendum. The best permanent solution to the Anglophone crisis would be a transparent, inclusive, negotiated peace process leading to a free and fair, internationally supervised referendum that included a clear question on institutional arrangements, including independence. That sentence like that, it's something that all Ambazonians should just denounce. And the reason Ambazonians should denounce, because he's saying that clear questions on institutional arrangements, including independence. I hate to cite Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiations, but I will cite them this time. They did a survey. The most recent survey that was done by them showed that majority of Southern Cameroonians prefer autonomy, they prefer independence. They want to rule themselves, they want to govern their own affairs. Late Cardinal Tumi also had the same survey that he did, showing that majority of Southern Cameroonians want to have their independence. And there's been another survey somewhere not too long ago with the same results. So we've had at least 3 surveys, which you could think that they are part of a plebiscite somehow. They're part of a referendum, a vote system where people have given their wishes. So if that's the case, and Southern Cameroon has also already restored its statehood on October 1st, 2022, this subject matter referendum is null and void. It's no issue. We should not even go there. So the question is, why is it coming up now? Who are the ones pushing for it? And the answer is those who want to be one Cameroon. Those probably are our Southern Cameroonian brothers and sisters or Anglophones that are not Ambazonians that prefer to stay in this unitary state, to be one Cameroon. Whatever form they choose, whether it's federal or unitary or 3 states or 4 states federation, that's what they prefer. They are the ones bringing this, including we understand comrade, whoever is calling himself comrade. I don't want to be called a name, but there's somebody else that out there that is calling himself comrade, is also pushing for this agenda. That maybe we should have a referendum. So I am saying here today, let me even continue reading. I read the highlight. It says that would solve a historical wrong committed first in 1961 under British and UN auspices, and again in 1972. No, that would not solve a historical wrong. The historical wrong that was committed in 1961 of us being granted independence either by joining A or B, which we joined La République du Cameroon, but we never signed a treaty of union because they failed to subject themselves to what a federation should look like. They failed because if they had done what a real federation would be like, we will not be here today. We would not have lost over 40,000 lives as we speak. We have not have lost so many villages. Our people would not have been leaving their own towns to go to Yaoundé to chase documents for over 60 years. Our roads will not be all destroyed and damaged. Our institutions will not all be gone. Our airports will be there. You name it. Our students, our schools, our institutions will be first class like they were before, you know. So that all failed. And then it would signal an end to political and economical marginalization perpetrated from Yaoundé. No, it will not, because we are not considered humans. We are subhumans. We will always be second-class citizens. Special status, which they already came up. Why give us special status if we are not equal to them? We should all be equal and have the same rights and privileges. He says, it is not a stretch to see parallels between Russia's quick annexation referendums in occupied areas of Ukraine in 2014 and 2021, and Ahijos hastily conducted on just May 1972 constitutional referendum. Yes, Ahijos referendum in 1972, the we and yes referendum was unjust and biased and failed and a fraud, but that doesn't give us a right to come back and say we want a referendum. He continues. But it is also true that some of our local armed leaders on the ground, on ground zero, and some of the loudest self-proclaimed leaders in the diaspora, spending more time calling each other traitors than coordinating a united diplomatic and military front that might provide encouraging glimpses of future self-determination. Well, he forgets to see that what he's describing are tools of La République doing all this. La République is the one doing all this through its agent. Yep. So the interim government is focused. President Sako is focused. He has LGAs, counties, different departments, the interim house, the ethics commission, the judiciary. We have that system. So we are not the ones causing all this problem. It's the people that you want us to go and have a referendum with causing all this problem. Many of the most thoughtful and capable Southern Cameroonians who would ultimately prefer independence, if asked directly, worry that there are insufficient institutions in place now to constrain the power-hungry, the co-opted, or the well-armed during a transition. That is where he fails to understand that our people, in general, are peace-loving people. The real Ambazonians are peace-loving people. When they see the structures that are in place, when they see the plan that the interim government has for them. Last week, we had a show on education, and the Department of Education has a vivid, very well set up plan for education. And so is the case with the healthcare system. So is the case with infrastructure. The plans are there. They will be rolled out with time for the people to see the Ambazonia they're fighting for. With all that in place, we don't expect the few that will be the few kingpins here and there to cause any problem. They will be squashed. They will be squashed. So all these excuses that he gives out, I don't want to continue reading it because we're going to be ending the show soon. Excuses that he gives to prescribe referendum as a solution is hushwash. It's just full of baloney, as they say here in the United States of America. It's all rubbish. Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians, are Southern Cameroonians, are Ambazonians. If I'm already an Amazonian, why do I care for a referendum? Those who are care for to be with La République du Cameroon, they can go ask for a referendum in La République du Cameroon. So La République du Cameroon, when they integrate them, can decide how they want to handle them when they are Southern Cameroonians that have decided to stay with La Republic. They can go have that conversation. But we have our territory, we have our borders, we have our land, we have our anthem, we have our constitution, we have our president, we have the people. We do not need a referendum. I think our people should understand this, that referendum means staying with La Republique du Cameroon. Referendum means being special status, because there will never be, as Lady Casey has said, there will never be a referendum that will go your way. We've experienced this in the past. There will never be a referendum that will go your way. But you don't need it again, as I say, because you've already restored your nation. You're already Ambazonians. Lady Casey, go ahead and say something, and then we'll be closing any minute now.
Okay. Finally, I would just like to round up my contributions for today with firstly starting to say that Amazonians, we have come so far not to just come this far. We have come this far because we believe in Amazonian liberation. We are dedicated and committed to this freedom cause. And because of that, there is an attitude, there is a way of thinking, and there is an approach to everything or every aspect of life, because we are dedicated to this freedom cause. So it is not every news or every statement by anybody we love and respect that we will take it, even if it's against our purpose for being alive at this time, which is to liberate and restore Ambazonia in totality. So we should be focused, we should be critical and listen to everybody's contributions, but you don't take everybody's contribution, especially if they are just words. People have said a lot of divisive, a lot of destructive things that enables, that instead empowers the enemy, a lot of things that instead give promotes the enemy agenda. So we should not give life to those statements. Every Ambazonia is free to organize, to do anything they need to do to liberate Ambazonia, anything they need to do to contribute to our freedom cause. Any Ambazonia, I don't see anybody being stopped. I don't see anybody being asked not to do anything they want to do for Ambazonian liberation. But you must not talk down. You must not try to destroy a brother for you to succeed. You don't you don't have to dim the light of a comrade for your own light to shine, for your own contribution to shine. It's absolutely it doesn't work like that, and that's not how life works. So going forward, fellow Ambazonians, let's all Ambazonian patriots and believers of the liberation of Ambazonia and participants in this freedom course focus on doing what they must do and what we all must be doing to see that the enemy, if fail and understands, they have refused to participate in diplomacy. They only participate in meetings which are not diplomatic meetings that are organized by themselves in the diaspora by their cronies. So they have refused to participate with the international back one. That is to tell us that they have either felt like they have control because they have Ambazonian voices or Southern Cameroon voices speaking on their behalf, promoting their cause. And we should be sensitive of this. We should be conscious of this and be very aggressive how we deal with anybody that promotes the enemy agenda within our liberation struggle. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lady Casey, for such wise counsel in your closing remarks. I want to thank you for joining us here today on the Horizon. You're a constant guest on our show, and we appreciate you. And we're hoping that next week, Ma Rachel will be back. If not, we'll find a way to have another program on the air. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Ambazonians, thank you for always watching the voice of the Amber woman on the horizon. Again, we are here because we are staying the cause. And as Lady Casey has rightfully said, continue to do what you can do to free homeland. Continue to do what you can do to make sure that we get that beautiful land we are all fighting for. Continue to do what you can do to support the interim government, because the interim government is what can make this happen in the shortest possible time. And for all those who are supporting enablers, you're just lengthening the journey to Boya. It's time to open your eyes and see that these enablers are not good for our struggle. And I use the word enablers because they are helping La Republic do its dirty job. If they are not able to do positive things and only doing things that are negative, that are hindering the interim government, then they are enabling La Republic to come on to continue this genocide. We have people dying on a daily basis. Eventually, we'll not have any young sons to marry our young daughters. That is ethnic cleansing. That is genocide. So, my brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, let's continue to do what we can to push forward to Boya together. Thank you all so much for watching. I always end by saying, long live the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, short live the struggle, and may God continue to guide us as we head off to Boya. Thank you so much. And I want to thank our technical team for helping us today. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. I hope the technical teams knows we already ended the show.
Something where we go talk. When I dey sick, you know the sleep. You go the cry all night. You go hold me tight. Start to pray, say God make you help my. Oh Lord.